hi there. My name's Topher, and you just stumbled upon my little wine show, where I take the vast subject of wine and break it down into easy, factual, usable nuggets to help you, yeah, you, look like a sommelier. That's a wine expert, or the opposite of an idiot when it comes to ordering wine. I'm only kidding. You're never going to look like an idiot, but you're going to look a little better when you know what you're talking about when it comes to wine. Tonight's episode begins in Portugal. Now, to many, port wine is a pretty mysterious subject, only ordered by men who look like this. What does this guy know that I don't know? No, honestly, have you ever been in a restaurant or a bar and, stumbled across somebody ordering a glass of port and were intrigued and maybe a little intimidated because you were standing waiting for your, rum and coke? Port wine is generally richer, sweeter, and heavier than normal wine, and it packs a punch. It has about 19.5 to 20% alcohol. Bet you're really going to appreciate. At the beginning of the 1700s, the poor English were deprived of wine from France because they were at war with them. Now, everybody at that time got the good wine from France, so they needed to turn to somebody else. So who did they turn to? The Portuguese and Portugal. Yay, Portugal! Portugal is near Spain, and Spain is infamous for great wine, and for some reason or other, they were able to import it rather cheaply. The continued English involvement in the port trade can still be seen today because a lot of the names on the bottles are of English descent. Oh, they dig their port, baby. You might wonder where it got its name. Well, actually, port wine came from a seaport city called Porto. But only true port comes from this region. Anything else is an imposter. Now, if the bottle has the word Porto on it, it's a pretty good indication that it came from Portugal and it's the real deal. If it just says port, there is a chance it was made somewhere else and it's made to resemble what comes from Portugal. That could be decent, but if you want the real thing, look for the imported label on it. All right, so now the English had a wine supply, but there was a problem. Very often it would spoil during the long journey back to England, which is a major problem. That's when the fortification of wine was introduced, which helped improve shelf life and enabled it to make the journey without spoiling. What does fortification of wine mean? What is fortified wine? It's actually pretty simple. Wine here, brandy or a distilled beverage or something like it here. They just mix it together, which actually stops the fermentation of the wine in its tracks. What results is like a really sweet wine because all the sugar's not turning to booze. And what results also is a very strong wine. Very clever, those English, but they'll do whatever it takes to get the wine home, right? I would too. Okay, here's where it may get a little complicated, but that's okay. Though there are many styles of port: white port, ruby port, young tawny port, aged tawny port, vintage character port, late bottled vintage port, traditional late bottled vintage port, Cinco Quinta vintage port, crusted port, Janine Garofalo port. Most fall into two very broad categories: cask-aged and bottle-aged. Cask-aged wine has been aged in barrels, and it's already been exposed to oxygen. What this means is when you open a bottle of it, and it comes in bottles too, not casks, it handles the exposure to oxygen a lot better. It's going to last a little longer. Now, bottle-aged defies time. It doesn't matter. This stuff can remain the same color and have the same fruitiness it had when it was bottled 50, 60 years ago. The only secret is once you open it, it's pretty much time to drink it. It's not used to being exposed to oxygen at all. It's been in a bottle for years, for sake. Consider buying a bottle-aged port for someone who's having a child. If you buy it the year they're born, they'll wait 21 years to do it legally before they can drink it. The kid will look at you in a whole new light. If you're still alive, and they remember you at all. You can drink port wine as a dessert replacement. You can drink port wine with dessert because of its innate sweetness. It goes with all desserts really well. But it also goes great with cheese really well, just like any red wine. But it goes with this particular cheese very well. This is Stilton cheese from England. And this is what they pair it up with, and they know what they're doing. Yeah, that's strong. And it's strong in other ways, too. Here's something you have to know about this. And it's true. In 2005, the British Cheese Board conducted a survey concerning Stilton cheese. And it turns out, if you eat this a half hour before going to bed, you're going to have amazing, vivid, I'm going to say psychedelic dreams. And,
that's my kind of cheese.
Speaking of pairings, we've talked about port wine with cheese, with dessert, in place of dessert. Let's not forget about the good old fat stogie. Port wine is known to go very well with a cigar. The best cigar I ever had was accompanied by a glass of port, and I'll never forget it. So now, next time you see an old guy ordering a glass of port and eating a piece of cheese, you're no longer going to think of him as some sort of old geezer who doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's having very strong port wine, and he's eating psychedelic cheese. I mean, you wish you were that cool.